I'm Sarah with Tax Law Offices.
And I'm Anton, attorney with Tax Law Offices. Okay, Sarah, you brought us here for a reason today. Why are we here?
I did. So the reason I asked you here is because I get a lot of calls from people who are being audited by the IRS and they're scared. They don't know what they need to do, what the IRS is going to ask for. So help me help them.
All right, we can do that. This video starts now. Folks, I think you're going to really like this one. This is going to be the first of a 3-video series. We're going to really open up these questions that IRS asks during an audit. Stick around because we're going to talk through, each of these questions has a specific purpose. Now, before we jump into the meat of it, hey, we always ask that you like the video. We put a lot of work into it. Even Sarah, wherever she went, we put a lot of work into it, but subscribe. You really want to subscribe because as we do the next video in this series, you want to make sure you get an alert, okay? Hit the subscribe, hit that bell icon. Thanks a lot. All right, let's do this video here. 2 really important things that I want you to take from every one of these questions because they have a dual purpose. Sure, they're for information that the auditor, when the auditor asks a question, they want to know the actual answer, but there's also either a procedural purpose or an analytic purpose for every question. And that's why every question is really important. First question. The auditor is going to want to know your name, address, date of birth, filing status. Now, sure, they already have that information because they have a copy of your tax return. Why are they asking? Well, one, they do want to confirm. They want to make sure that they're talking to the right person, that they're kind of authenticating you. They're confirming your identity. But also, they want to know, do you normally use any other aliases? Do you have any other people in your household that maybe are or are not on the tax return? They're probing a little bit. And that information will be used to analyze dependencies, things, and income sources and all sorts of things later. Seems basic. Like I said, it's either for procedural or investigation purpose. Next, the auditor will ask if you have a spouse and the spouse's identity. For some of the same reasons. They are looking to confirm that they're matching up accounts. If you're under audit, the IRS will look at your spouse's return to see if that one also needs to be audited. Who owns the residence? This is an analytic question because the auditor is wanting to probe to see whether your lifestyle fits your income. And that's really important. That's going to be a recurring theme, whether your lifestyle fits your income. Your house, whoever owns that house, obviously that's part of your lifestyle. Think about that. You live in a $500,000 home with a mortgage. It's hard to do that on a $23,000 salary. Just for example. All right, let's get back into the questions. Who is your employer? Or if you're self-employed, talk about that company a little bit. Again, what the auditor wants to do, sure, confirm information that's on the tax return, but also keep in mind, they're looking at a tax return from some years back, but they're asking about your current situation now also. So they're confirming income sources, but they're also confirming sources that later on collection can use to pay the tax after the audit. Did you get that? They're actually looking for how they're going to collect on the tax after the audit is completed. Have you filed any amended returns in the past? And you think, what does that matter? If I have, then the IRS auditor should have it, right? Did I file any amended returns in the past? What IRS is doing is checking to see if you have a habit of changing the answer for a reason, changing the answer on your tax return, the final numbers, after you file. Because if it's happened in the past, and it's happened multiple times in the past, well, for some, that could show a history of manipulating the tax system. It's nasty business, but that's what the IRS is doing. They are analyzing. They're also checking to make sure that there aren't any amended returns that are floating out there that would affect your answers on whatever year they're auditing. Okay. Kind of a related question are you aware of any errors on the tax return, in that whatever year? And it's kind of a trick question. I mean, are you aware of any errors? Most people say no. Some people say yes, and they just open up a floodgate of information just triggered by that one question. Are you aware of any errors? And some people say, well, this is my time to come clean. Well, that's dangerous for a couple of reasons. I mean, if you were aware, then sure, you have to be truthful. But at the same time, you be real careful about how much of that information that you volunteer. Ask the question that's been answered, because what you might do is you might even admit to some errors that you knew or should have known about. Like I said, it's procedural and it's analytical. It's not just gathering the information from the question. Let's move on. This is an easy one. Did you timely file all your tax returns? Well, okay, they're checking to see if all your other tax returns are filed and in the system so that they can consider looking at those. But also, when the audit is done, the auditor is going to consider penalties. And the people who have the best performance with IRS, they file all the returns, they do it on time, they don't have changes, they don't have errors. Well, those people get treated a little better with regard to penalties in a lot of cases. For those people who don't file on time, that makes them an easier target, and you kind of lose the ability to argue that you should not have penalties because you're already in some other violation. It's just practically speaking. All right, next question. Who prepared the tax return, and what years, and how long have you been working with that tax return preparer, if that's the case? A few things going on there. They want to make sure that if someone else was involved in the process, then what information was shared with that tax return preparer, what wasn't shared, who would have been the likely person to make a mistake if there was a mistake, or who would have been the likely person to leave out information, those kind of things. But also, if you're being represented by the person who prepared your tax return, which, really, mostly, I don't recommend that for some reasons that we'll get into on a later video. But if you are represented, they want to know whether that tax return, whether that person sitting in front of the IRS is knowledgeable about your tax return. Because if they're not knowledgeable, then procedurally speaking, that can be later a reason why IRS can, let's just say, disqualify them or disregard them as your representative. These are all just basic questions that the auditor will begin an audit with. Here's one more. Have you ever been audited? Asking whether you've ever been audited, what that's doing, they're not looking for the yes or no. They're looking for a reason to say that you knew or should have known that this was an issue in the past, and yet you took the same action this time. Like I said, procedural reasons and analytic reasons. It's not just a yes or no question. Okay. Anyway, folks, hope you liked the video. Like, subscribe, all that. I'm Anton with Tax Law Offices. Hey, enjoyed having you. See you next video.